Shalom Aleichem. Mishnah Yomi continues for the 8th of Av. Bezrat Hashem, I plan to record tomorrow's learning also, so we'll have that in advance. We are in Bava chapter 2, Mishnayot 5 and 6 today. Mishnah Hey, Shor Hamazik, a shore causing damage, Birshut Hanizak, in someone else's private property. Ketzad, what is the case here? Nagah, if it gores with horns. Nagaf, it's pushing with its body. Nashoch is to bite it, not to eat it, but to bite violently. Ravatz, it sat on someone. Ba'at, or it aggressively kicked something. Birshut Rabim, if that's out in public, out in the shuk, in the public street. Mishalim Chatzi Nezik, it pays only half damages. We're talking about a shore tam, a shore that has not yet become muad. It has not been warned 3 times about this damaging behavior, so it's still a tam, so it's paying half damages for this damage. Birshut Nizak, but if this takes place in a private area, in someone else's property, Rabbi Tarfon Omer Nezik Shalem. Rabbi Tarfon's opinion, we've mentioned before, is he pays full damages, even before it's muad. Chachamim Omrim Chatzi Nezik. The other sages say, no, it's a shore tam, it has not done damage 3 times, it only pays half damages, even in Rishut Nizak, even in private property. Amar Rabbi Tarfon. Rabbi Tarfon has a logical argument. Ma b'makom shehekel al hashein ve'al haregel b'rshut harabim shu pater. Just like the Torah is mekel, is lenient about shein, eating, and regel, damage caused by walking normally, b'rshut harabim, out in public. Remember, we mentioned if someone leaves their food out in public, accessible to animals, and someone's animal eats it, it's not really, you shouldn't have done that. So that's pater. Hechmir aleihim b'rshut nizak l'shalom nezik shalom. But shein and regel in private property, if your ox goes into Reuven's field and eats, you have to pay full damages. So therefore, he argues, makom shehechmir ala keren, a place where the Torah is more strict, b'rshut harabim, in the public domain, l'shalom chatzi nezik, that keren has to pay chatzi nezik in the public place. Eino din shenachmir aleya b'rshut nizak l'shalom nezik shalom. So therefore, we should be strict, and Karen, even of a tam, will pay full damages in a private domain. So this is a vHomer, and his argument is basically saying shen and regel are pater in the public area, because you shouldn't have left your stuff there, but they pay full damages in a private area. So Karen, which is strict in the sense that it pays at least half damages in the public domain, should it not pay full damages in a private domain? Amru lo, but the other sages haven't answered Rabbi Tarfon. Dayo like Dayenu, it's enough. Laba minadin, something we learn out from a certain place. Liot kinidon, to be as strict as that place. Meaning the new law you're deriving from an existing law can't be more strict than the existing law. They explain, ma b'rshut rabim chatzi nezik, Karen in Rishut Rabim, Karen of a tam animal and not a muad animal, it pays half damages. Af b'rshut nizak, chatzi nezek. So yes, your vHomer can say, just like it pays in a public domain, it should pay in a private domain, but you can't make it more machmir to pay full damages instead of half damages. This concept, Dayo labam in a din liot kenidon, that you can't be more strict from the source of the derivation you're learning out, this is actually a biblical concept. Everyone agrees to this. It's actually a pasuk in the Torah, in B'halotcha, the end of Halotcha, when Miriam says something about Moshe and she's punished. So at the very end of v'halotecha, v'yomer Hashem Moshe v'avia yorok b'fanea, if a woman's father would spit at her face, not necessarily, in her face, but out of, obviously the daughter did something seriously wrong and needs to be seriously rebuked. Haloti kolam shivat yamim, wouldn't she go and hide herself for 7 days out of the shame of having made such a mistake? So tisagir shivat yamim michutz machane. So Miriam, too, she should be in Hezger, in quarantine, for 7 days out of the camp, and then after that, she'll come back and you'll travel together. Now, you might have thought, if a girl's father rebukes her and points out her misbehavior, she would hide in her room for 7 days. Here it's Hashem pointing out the behavior. It should be maybe 14 days, maybe 30 days, maybe a year. It should definitely be more than a physical father. And the Mefarshim learn out that Hashem provides in a child as much as the mother and the father put together. So really, it should be twice as much. Maybe it should be 14 days. But Hashem himself says 7 days, just like her father. So to me, since she, really she's violating Lashon Hara in this case, even though she was at Tzedekis and on her level, it was a very minor infraction, much more minor than we all do. Okay, speaking for herself, than I do, on a daily basis. Hashem should help us to protect what we say. So anyway, Hashem himself provides Dayo, saying you might have thought it would be 14 days that she should be quarantined, but we see it's 7 days, just like the father. So this is actually a biblical concept. Dayo, same word as Dayenu. Now back in the Mishnah, Rabbi Tarfon suggests a different vHomer. Amar lahem, ani lo adun Karen v'Karen. He says, I'm not learning Karen from Karen in a public domain to Karen in a private domain. On the adun Karen miregel, I'm learning from regel, really from shen and regel. Ma b'makom shehekel al shen v'al regel b'shud rabim. The Torah is lenient that shen and regel, they do not pay in public property because the victim should not have left his food and kelim there. Hechmir b'Karen. But in Karen, it is strict that he should pay at least half damages in Reshut Rabim. Makom shehechmer ala shen v'ala regel b'shut nizak. But in private property, the Torah is machmir, is demanding full damages for the damage caused by shen and regel, by eating and walking. Eino din shenachmer b'Karen. So too, the Torah should require full damages from Karen, even Karen tam, not yet muad, in private property. Amrulo, the sages said back to him, Dayo, this is also a Dayo. Dayo levav min adin liot kinidon. You're comparing the different sources. So so one source has no damages and then full damages, but really you can't. It's not dependent on the domain. They're saying it's not. You can't be more machmir. Ma b'shuta rabim chatzi nezek. Just like in Reshuta Rabim, it's half damages for Karen tam, for the shore, the ox goring or aggressively attacking. Af b'shuta nizek chatzi nezek. You can't be more machmir than the source you're learning from. It can't be more than half damages. Great, let's go on to Mishnah Vav. Adam muad le'olam. Human beings, men and women alike, are always accountable for their actions, their indiscretions, and their negligence. Ben shogig, ben mezid, whether it is a mistake or on purpose. Ben er, ben yashin, whether he's awake or asleep. As we mentioned, if he knew when he was asleep that there were delicate vessels next to the bed and he might roll over and hit them, yes, he has to pay for them if he did so while asleep. Sime et ein chavero, if he, God forbid, blinded the eye of his friend. V'shiber et kelim, and also broke vessels at the same time. Mishalem nezek shalom, he pays full damages. Now, there's a lot to learn here because you might have thought there's a pasuk, ayin tachat ayin, the eye for an eye. Our sages learn out, an eye for an eye is not literal. If God forbid somebody causes that kind of damage to another person, the court does not poke out the eye of the offender. That's in the Hammurabi Code and other, less civilized legal systems, but our sages learn out, the psukim are quite clear that we're talking about financial restitution. When we say eye for an eye, we mean the loss of value to the victim must be compensated. We also see from here, nezek shalom means the full damages. This is in a case where it was by mistake. We're going to learn later in chapter 8 in detail, if a human being, God forbid, attacks someone else on purpose, there's actually more liability. There's additional liability for medical costs and lost wages and embarrassment and pain and suffering. So it's not just the physical damage that incurs if something is done on purpose. As a reminder, we have to be extremely careful with what we do, even by accident, we have to be careful. But vHomer, we certainly have to be careful not to hurt anyone else, whether it's their feelings or their financial situation, or God forbid, even their body on purpose. You have to certainly be careful. As I mentioned in chapter 1, there's an amazing Rashi in the Gemara, Bava, base, Amad base, the first Rashi in the wide lines. People are different than animals because Adam islay mazla. People have mazel. They have mazel tov. Shiyeh shlo, this is the words of Rashi, not my words. I can't make this up. Shiyeh shlo dat. He has intellectual capacity, lishmor et gufo, to take care of his body so he does not harm anyone else. So when we wish someone a mazel tov, we can think not just the spiritual zechut, but we can also think that they should have, God willing, the intellectual awareness to protect themselves and to protect other people from damage and succeed in life. Mazel bracha.